Insidious Chapter 3 is the prequel to the first two Insidious movies, and it's about this young girl named Quinn, who basically, her mother has recently died, her dad is struggling to maintain the household because she has a younger brother too, and it's hard to handle it, but one day she tries to contact her mother, but unfortunately something else latches on to her, which leads the psychic Elise from the first two movies to try to save her, even though she has some mixed feelings about it, as you will see when you see it. Unless you already saw it, then you know why. I watched the first two Insidious movies a couple months ago, and I actually really liked them. Even though the second one isn't as good as the first one, I actually really like that. I don't think enough people give it enough credit, because it's actually a really good horror film, especially the first one. That movie was terrifying. And this movie, it's a prequel, and it is directed by the guy who wrote the first two Insidious movies, not the guy who directed the first two. And we have the girl from Ant Farm Disney Channel playing our main character. You can kind of tell why I was nervous. But to my surprise, this movie was actually really creepy. I mean, it was really creepy. Leigh Whannell, who directed this movie, who also stars in it, who I'll get to in a moment, does a great job, and I think he has a good future at being a horror filmmaker. Someone else who I think actually has a future in acting is Stephanie Scott, who I didn't like her in Ant Farm, but in this movie, she actually did pretty good, and I actually liked her character, and unlike the character she had in Ant Farm, who I completely hated. Look, Disney Channel actors can be good actors, guys! Come on! Dermot Mulroney, who plays Stephanie Scott's dad, also does a good job. He's the struggling father, so, you know, there's gonna be some drama there and stuff, but he actually does a good job. It doesn't really come across too corny. He does good. And Lynn Shay as Elise, she is awesome. I liked her in the first two movies, and this movie especially. She's just a really good part of this movie. And the two guys who later go into business with Elise with the first two Insidious movies, one of them played by Leigh Whannell, the director. The other one, I don't know his name, the character or the actor, but they both did a good job. They're really funny guys. I just really am forgetting their names at the moment. I'm sorry. I'm bad with names. I'm sorry. And as I mentioned, this movie really is creepy. There are some jump scares that happen, and sometimes I'm not a fan of jump scares if it's just like a false jump scare, like, oh, someone's touching your shoulder, oh no, it's just some normal guy or something, or just a random noise and nothing is there, and then all of a sudden, it's behind you. Yeah, like predictable jump scares also. But this movie has a few predictable jump scares, but for the most part, really good jump scares, because this movie actually got me to jump in the theater. Oh yeah, did I mention this is the first horror movie I saw in the theater? Prometheus and Dracula Untold don't count because they weren't entirely scary. This movie is scary. And speaking of scary, the demon in this movie, I do have one big problem with him, but he actually is very creepy. There's one creepy scene that happens, like the first, I don't know, like 40 minutes. This movie's really short. I'm just saying that scene, you might know what I'm talking about. The scene that I'm talking about is really creepy, where he's just calmly walking through the room. And I think you know which one I'm talking about. It's scary. As for flaws with the movie, there are a few horror movie cliches. For example, there are a few characters who, the actors, they do fine, but their characters are kind of unnecessary. Like the son in this movie, he's only there to add a teensy little bit of drama and to introduce the two guys to the situation. And that's just it. Like the last 15 minutes when stuff is going down, he just leaves. Like, he's just not there. And Quinn has this best friend who is there to be the best friend, and she has this love interest who's only there for like 2 or 3 scenes, and then he's gone completely. It makes him kind of unnecessary, but hey. And as I mentioned earlier, the creepy demon guy, he is creepy, but unlike the first two Insidious movies, he doesn't have much of a backstory. Like in the first two, I actually got a little bit of backstory with those demons, and I'm glad with that. Like the one in the second movie, which was completely terrifying and scary and unnerving. In this movie, it was just, he's a creepy demon. Be scared. And I was, but the thing is, I just wanted to know a little bit more about him. And some stuff happens in the third act that makes it, quote my dad, makes it kind of hokey. Like some things that a certain character does just really comes across as kind of laughable. And finally, usually when I see horror movies, there's always like this sense of fear afterwards. Like when I saw The Shining and the Babadook, I was taking a shower and I had to pull the curtain back because I was afraid that when I'm done taking the shower, I'm gonna pull it back and see the Babadook or Jack Nicholson with a giant axe. But with this movie, I didn't really feel scared at all. It was just, time for a shower. And that's it. Just doing that, you know, doing this hair stuff, face and stuff. And I'm just thinking, man, that was a really good movie. I was even thinking about the movie in the shower, like, man, that was a really good movie. And then as soon as I'm done, easily pull back the curtain, wasn't scared. So I guess the real thing about this movie is that it's just really creepy. It's not really terrifying. Like the first two Insidious movies, those movies were terrifying. This one just felt really creepy. And that's fine, I just wish there was more. I just kind of wanted to be a little scared afterwards. But Insidious Chapter 3 is actually a pretty good addition to the Insidious trilogy, and I hope you just leave it as a trilogy, because if you make more, then oh boy, I wonder what's gonna happen. But I'm gonna give Insidious Chapter 3 a B+. I thought it was a very entertaining, very creepy horror film with some slight problems, some cliches, but it's very, very awesome. So if you've seen Insidious Chapter 3, leave in the comments below what you thought of it. And this Thursday, I'm gonna be seeing Jurassic World in IMAX. Yes! And I'm gonna be reviewing the Jurassic Park movie, the original Jurassic Park movie, but like tomorrow or Wednesday. And the Terminator movie, because I'm starting to watch the Terminator movies again in preparation for Genesis. So Terminator and Jurassic Park coming soon. And I really want to see Spy, but we'll see how it goes. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.